For decades, the world watched one story unfold: the rise of China. It was a global blockbuster, double-digit growth, gleaming new cities, and headlines about an economic miracle. China became the world's factory, churning out everything from iPhones to novelty gifts. The narrative was everywhere. China's ascent to the top was inevitable. Investment bankers, politicians, and tech giants all bought in, pouring money and resources into China. The story was simple: a wise government guiding a diligent population to prosperity. They built the world's largest high-speed rail network and lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty. The evidence seemed overwhelming: sci-fi skylines, massive infrastructure, and a new world order on the horizon. Western leaders worried about being left behind. The message was clear: get on board the China train, or get left at the station. But here's the thing about stories that sound too good to be true. They usually are. Behind the spectacle, a different story was taking shape. One of hidden debts, ghost cities, and numbers that didn't add up. While the world watched the highlight reel, the rot was setting in. The foundations of this economic skyscraper were not as solid as they seemed. Lies, denial, and a desperate attempt to keep the music playing masked the real problems. The world was mesmerized, but the cracks were growing. The Chinese century was never guaranteed. The real story was always more complicated. Now, the truth is impossible to ignore. The blockbuster is over, and the credits are rolling on a very different sequel. Let's talk about the cracks in China's economic miracle. The first and most glaring problem? Debt. Mountains of it. Local governments and developers borrowed heavily to build, but much of it was unproductive. Ghost cities, empty airports, and pointless projects. This juiced GDP numbers, but created little real value. Now the bills are coming due, and the pockets are empty. Evergrande's collapse wasn't an outlier. It was a symptom of a systemic disease. Then there are the numbers themselves. China's official statistics have long been more fiction than fact, massaged to meet government targets. If the goal is 5% growth, the official number magically hits 5%. But the biggest lie might be the population itself. The government claimed over 1.4 billion people, but leaks suggest the real number is much lower. We're talking about a discrepancy of over 100 million people, like misplacing the entire population of Japan. Inflated figures justified policies and attracted investment, but the reality was a shrinking, aging population. The foundation of endless growth, an endless supply of young, cheap labor, was a mirage. The truth is finally catching up. The numbers don't lie forever, and the consequences are now impossible to ignore. The miracle was built on sand. The Belt and Road Initiative was supposed to be China's grand global project, a new Silk Road for the 21st century. Trillions were pledged for infrastructure across Asia, Africa, and Europe. But the reality, a spectacular failure. China offered massive loans for flashy projects that often made no economic sense. Countries like Kenya and Sri Lanka were saddled with debt for railways and ports that barely functioned. When they couldn't pay, China took control. Debt-trap diplomacy in action. The BRI was less about helping others and more about exporting China's overcapacity and keeping its factories running. Now, many projects are failing, loans are going bad, and China's reputation is tarnished. Instead of projecting power, China is seen as an unreliable, predatory partner. The BRI was a road to nowhere, and now the world is turning back. China's population was always its greatest asset, or so we thought. The official number hovered around 1.4 billion, but that was fiction. Local officials inflated numbers for funding, and the one-child policy created a culture of hidden and phantom births. When the real census data finally emerged, it was clear the population was already shrinking. China's economic model relied on a growing base of young workers and consumers. A shrinking population means rising labor costs, falling demand, and a shrinking tax base. The demographic pyramid is collapsing. Researchers now estimate China's real population is far lower than claimed. The country is getting old before it gets rich. The demographic dividend is gone, and a demographic crisis is here. The demographic collapse is China's most terrifying truth. The birth rate has plummeted to one of the lowest in the world. Government incentives to have more children aren't working. Young people face crushing work hours, high costs, and little hope for the future. By 2050, China will have nearly as many people over 65 as under 20. The workforce is shrinking, factories can't find young workers, and the social safety net is unprepared. The endless supply of cheap labor is gone. Forever. This isn't a distant problem. It's happening now. Every year the crisis deepens, and the government has no solution. The model was always about growth. Now, the engine is in reverse. China is getting old before it gets rich, and the consequences are just beginning. With debt mounting and demographics collapsing, China's system should adapt. But under Xi Jinping, the party has crushed debate and innovation. The tech sector, once a beacon of progress, was brought to heel. Billionaires silenced, companies punished. The message innovation is fine, as long as it doesn't challenge the party. Fear replaced dynamism. During zero COVID, brutal lockdowns crippled the economy while experts were silenced. The myth of a competent technocratic government is shattered. The system now hides problems instead of solving them. Truth-tellers are punished, and risk-takers retreat. The party's obsession with control has become its greatest weakness. Problems pile up, unaddressed, and the rot only deepens. Combine a sputtering economy, demographic crisis, and repression, and you get an exodus. Capital is fleeing. Foreign investors and China's own elite are moving money and families abroad. The government tries to stop the leaks, but confidence is gone. The best and brightest are leaving, tired of repression and lack of opportunity. Youth unemployment is soaring, and a generation is disillusioned. Social media trends like lying flat and let it rot capture the mood. Resignation, not ambition. The China dream is dead for many young people. When hope leaves, so does the future. Capital and talent go where they're valued. Right now, that place isn't China. The country's greatest asset, its people's energy, is being squandered. So, what now? The myth of China's unstoppable rise is over. The real story is one of deep internal weaknesses, bad policy, demographic disaster, and a system obsessed with control. The party built its legitimacy on endless growth, but now the well is dry. Debt-fueled stimulus won't work. Exports and domestic consumption can't save the day. The CCP is trapped, with no blueprint for managing decline. This isn't a sudden collapse, but a long grinding stagnation. Think Japan's lost decades, but without Japan's wealth or stability. Expect lower growth, rising unemployment, and more repression as the party struggles to justify its rule. A cornered, insecure dragon is unpredictable and dangerous. The real question isn't if China will overtake the US anymore, it's what does a world with a stagnating, unstable China look like? China's rise powered the global economy for decades. Its decline will have consequences for everyone. We spent years obsessing over China's rise. Now, we need to prepare for its slow, inevitable fall.